Hi, friends. I was making some autumn themed cards this past weekend, and I originally wasn't going to film it. And then I thought, yes, I will film it and I'll share it because maybe you guys would enjoy seeing the process. So at first, I just was keeping it simple with stamps, ink, and paper. And then I decided I was going to use some of the die cuts. And that's what you can see me doing here. So let me back up. I am using the Autumn Trees stamp set from Stampin' Up. And I'm going to show you how I got the different colors on the one stamp, the brown for the tree, tree base of the tree, and then different colored greens for the top of the tree, and then my sentiments. And then here I'm just using scrap paper, the scrap designer series paper that I had in my stash. Now I know pink isn't necessarily an autumny type color, but I just wanted to have some fun colors on the tree, just a few leaves here and there, and I really liked the simplicity of it. But once I put the camera on, I thought I'm going to start stepping this up and start using some different autumn colors for the leaves instead of just random designer series paper. So I came up with a really cool trick. But first, let me show you the finished cards. Very simple. I only added a few of the leaf die cuts that come with the Autumn Trees bundle, the set of dies. But I was really pleased with these, and also the final card that I'm going to show you in a second. And I forgot to mention, I was mass producing these cards because I wanted to make some thank you cards for my customers who placed orders with me this month. And I also wanted to send some cards to some of my team members. So having said that, I have a vanilla card base that measures 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5.5 to create my card base. And then you just saw me glue on a piece of basic gray that measures 4 by 5 1/4. Now look at this tree. Oh my goodness, it's a big tree. I can't remember. Have I shown this stamp set in previous videos? I don't know. I can't recall. But this tree is a big stamp and I absolutely love it. But then again, I'm partial to anything to do with trees and leaves. So all I've done is I just stamped the base of the tree with pecan pie. And now I'm just cleaning my stamp and I'm taking my old olive ink pad and I'm just using that on the whole top portion of the tree. Next, I'm going to pull in my mossy metal ink pad and I'm just going to tap it in random areas on that tree. That way, when I stamp it, I've got the two tones, the two different colors of the greenery. If you want to, you can take a blending pen and pull those colors that are on the stamped image into the image, but I'm just keeping it as it is. Now, I'm going to create my own background paper for my leaf die cuts. And this is such a great hack, you guys, especially if you're making autumn themed cards, whether it be thank you or birthdays or special occasions. This is so easy, and it's one of those, oh, Tina's making a mess again, but bear with me because this is amazing how gorgeous this works with our dies or punches. So I've just got a piece of very vanilla cardstock and I'm swiping my ink pads direct to the paper. So I've used Daffodil Delight, Pumpkin Pie, Old Olive, and you just saw me use some Cherry Cobbler. And then I'm going to go back over with my Daffodil Delight to fill in any of the lighter areas, but it's also going to blend really nicely into those other colors. Now when I go to put my die on top of this paper, I'm going to have die cuts, like this is all little mini leaves with all these beautiful colors. So you definitely need to try this with your punches and your dies, especially if you're making your autumn seasonal cards or scrapbook pages or projects. This is really cool. And you can also add some gold embossing, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes. The cool thing with these particular dies is they actually line up and match up exactly to the blank areas of that stamp images. that stamped tree image, I should say. But I decided first time round, I just wanted to cut up that whole die, and then I've got the little individual pieces I can use. But now, as you're going to see, I'm going to have that whole die to use as well. So it really gives you tons of variations on how you can use this die. So this is the first time I've actually used the whole die on my stamp image. And then I clued in, I'm like, oh, it fits perfect. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue here and there to the back of the image. You can also use your adhesive sheets before you run your paper through the die. But I find just by adding just a teeny little bit of glue here and there works really, really well for me. So I'm just going to position this right on top, and look at that. Like, this is a really well-designed stamp image and set of dies. I love it. So the sentiment I'm going to be using said, like, the leaves on the tree, every act of kindness adds color to life. This sentiment is part of my new Serene Stamper sentiment sheet, and that's going to be sent out really soon. So if you're not part of my subscriber list with my emails, make sure you do subscribe, because I'm sending out a free digital download, and it's going to have all kinds of fun sentiments that you can cut and use on your projects. And I'm so excited that you guys have been loving these sentiments that I've started sharing with you guys. That makes my heart happy. And I am loving how these cards are coming together, especially with the autumn colors. And the other colors too, I think they're really pretty. And I don't believe that there's rules when it comes to stamping and creating. So I think you could do whatever you want when it comes to colors and different products. All right, guys, I'm pulling in some gold embossing. So I've just stamped the splatter image from the elements of text onto my die cut and sprinkled on my gold powder, and I'm just heat embossing it. Speaking of elements of text, my friends, Stampin' Up! Has moved this stamp set over to the last chance list. Oh my goodness. I love this stamp set. I'm so glad I have it. When I first got it, I told you all this is going to be my most used stamp set, and it has been, and it will continue to be. So if the Elements of Text stamp set is on your wish list, you need to grab it before it's gone, because I have been using it like crazy, and it is one of my all-time favorite stamp set. Okay, what am I doing? I am redoing everything I've just shown you guys, because I want to do another card where I'm showing you how I'm using the die cut leaves that I have cut in one piece, and also that I have cut in the little pieces. So now I'm pulling in the tree dies. So now there's two dies. There's this die you're seeing me that I just put down, and the outline. Then I decided, you know what? I'm going to run the first die through first to show you what that does. And it doesn't cut out the entire image. What it does is it cuts out the center bits. Look at this. How cool is that? Did I mention this is an amazing bundle? This is a really awesome bundle. Now I'm putting on the outline die cut so that I get the entire tree cut with the bits and pieces that have been cut out with that previous die. So I'm just going to layer on my gray cardstock, and now I'm bringing in some old olive cardstock. So I'm cutting this layer to measure 3 3/4 by 5. You guys, I'm like winging it again, stamping on the fly. This was just weekend stamping. Tina playing in her stamp room, which I haven't done for a while, and just hoping that they're going to turn out, and putting the camera on while I'm doing it. But I thought after I glued those layers together, I'm like, oh, some embossing would have been nice. So I just ran that whole front layer through my So Swirly embossing folder, and wow, did it ever make a difference. So I'm just using my Stampin' Dimensionals to pop the tree onto the card. You don't have to do this part, but it does make a really nice shadow effect with that die cut bit, the die cut pieces that are cut from the center of the tree. Now watch how nicely this whole leaf pattern fits on this die. cut. You know what I mean. As a side note, some of you may know this, some of you may not, but when I'm filming my videos, I actually just pretend that I have a friend in my room. One of you, all of you, is in my room, and I'm just talking to you as if you were here and we're just friends stamping together. And it just makes it easier for me to know what to say on my videos and not stumble up too much about what do I say, what do I don't say, or if I make mistakes, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go with the flow. And so that's that's how I keep it real when I do these videos. Now, this die cut with the deer is part of the same Autumn Trees bundle. So all I've done is I cut a piece from my Fairy Vanilla cardstock. I've tapped on some crumb cake ink to my glass mat, and I'm just picking it up with a bit of water. And I'm just lightly coloring in my deer. And then I'm going to pull in some garden green and some old olive, no, sorry, lemon lime twist, and add some water and put that onto the card. Here's another thing. If you haven't already gotten your Stampin' Write markers, you need to get them before they're gone forever too, because Stampin' Up! Is discontinuing their water-based Stampin' Write markers. I absolutely love my Stampin' Write markers, and I use them all the time. So I'm just curious, do you use water-based markers? Do you use Stampin' Write markers? I know alcohol markers are amazing, and I love them too, but I think there is a place for our regular markers and so many things that you can do with them. Anyways, I am now taking my markers and adding color to the leaves, to the grass and the bulrushes. I had glue stuck on my finger, which I tapped onto part of the die cut and it ripped off one of the bulrushes, but that's fine. I'll just go ahead and glue that back on. So I'm just going to keep playing around, adding my color, adding the different shades of the crumb cake, and then I'm going to go ahead and dry this die cut and then use my glue and mini Stampin' Dimensionals to adhere it to the card. Here I'm just using my white gel pen to add a few little spots to that baby fawn, and then I just used my finger just to smudge them just a little bit. Now this part I used my gray marker on the rock, and then I stamped a splatter on it, and I didn't like how it turned out. So I'm going to show you, I just went ahead and recut my die and trimmed out the rock portion, and then I'm just going to end up popping that onto my card with a Stampin' Dimensional. I also finally replaced my white craft ink pad. The one that I've had for years and years and years finally gave up the ghost. So this is just me inking up my new ink pad with the white. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my finger and lightly dab into it and just smush it onto that gray die cut for the rock, just to soften up the color of the gray. So that's a fun little trick that I like to do every now and then. Now, I know that many of you watching also have cats that like to hang out in the craft room when you're crafting, because you've told me this. And as you can see, Forrest has decided he wants my attention while I'm trying to do the little fiddly parts on my card, of course, right? Murphy's Law. And I'm trying to concentrate and put my little bulrush back on my card. And yeah, I managed to do it. with Forest wanting all that attention. So now I'm just gluing on my little rock, and I am really pleased with how this turned out. I'm using the Stampin' Up! Foam adhesive strips that I just trim up to put on my sentiments. I love these adhesive strips. And I decided at the last minute I wanted to add some darker highlights with the crumb cake on the deer for the ears. And then also I thought, oh, I need to add some dark brown for their noses and their eyes. You'll also see me in a minute adding a little bit of petal pink just to add some highlighting to the deers. I've added a little bit of water to my glass mat to pick up some of that ink as well. That way I can blend all the colors in nicely. I actually spent more time adding the color and details to this deer cut die, but I was just truly having fun, taking my time with it and just relaxing. Again, this was just weekend stamping, just me having fun playing. I originally didn't plan on filming this, but I'm really hoping that you guys are able to take away some of the ideas that I used on today's cards and that you try them at home using what you have. I'll put a list in the description below of any current Stampin' Up! Product that I used. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. As always, I appreciate you more than you know. And if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe to my channel. It helps me so much. And don't forget to hit the bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. So until next time, my friends, take care and happy stamping.